so bright, bro.
Alright, we good? Welcome back to another episode on board Motor Yacht Loon, one of the most well-known yachts in the industry, new to YouTube, an account that you should definitely be following. Today we have the opportunity to sit down with Dean Harrison, or the Yacht Chef on Instagram, which everybody knows him by. He is one of the most well-known and innovative chefs in the super yacht industry, and we have the opportunity to sit down with him, see how through his career he has ended up here on board Motor Yacht Loon, and what makes it such a stressful environment to work as a head chef on a boat like this. So we're going to be sitting down with Dean and talking about his entire career all the way through to this point and some of the stresses that come with the job.
My name is Dean Harrison and I'm the head chef on Motor Yacht Loon.
Could you please give us a career overview and how cooking essentially changed your life?
It's been one crazy journey, and I started probably when I was 13, 14. Started cooking for my grandparents, and I really just didn't like school, and I was living in a town that had some really good restaurants. So I had the opportunity to learn there for the first 4 years, and I think I knew from the very beginning that I didn't really want to work in restaurants. I knew there was other opportunities out there, so I traveled Europe, saw these yachts in Antibes, and I knew, they had to have chefs on board. So I started looking into it, and yeah, a few years later I started on yachts, probably when I was 22, 23.
Quick overview of the boats that you've been on leading up to Loon.
Very beginning, I actually started on dive boats, and it was a 35 meter, 3 or 4 stories high, helipad on top, cooking for 50 guests and around 20 crew. And I was also cooking on the day boat as well, which had 100 passengers, which was crazy.
How many chefs?
It was just me, sole chef, yeah.
Moving up from there?
I worked on a couple of smaller boats, 50-foot cats, other motorboats, and then my first super yacht was actually a 30 meter. Super cool boats. I was actually chef deck, sole chef, sole deckhand, so it was a little bit chaotic, but super fun. First 3 years cruising the South Pacific, Australia and New Zealand, just seeing some really cool stuff. It was a super interesting start to my career.
Cooking on board as a head chef is an absolute unique role, unlike any other chef job in the world. Could you elaborate a little bit on the cuisines you need to be able to cater for to the absolute highest level?
I always get this question, what is your signature dish? And it's so hard to answer this question because on a yacht, you're getting these clients from Europe, America, all these crazy countries that I have to learn their cuisines, and you kind of have to adapt to that. And, I can't just create one type of cuisine. I can't just be versed in modern Australian or Asian. I have to have American, European, I have to basically do everything.
Your work doesn't only show when you cook for guests, it also shows when you cook for crew, and in fact you've actually caused a little bit of issues on board some boats, I suppose, from other chefs just because of the level that you cook crew food to. Could you elaborate on why you make such an effort for crew food?
I think sometimes I love to cook for the crew a little bit more because, I see how much hard work these guys put in, and I want to give them, something special every day. These guys look forward to this. Basically, that's the best part of their day, is to come down to the crew mess and eat. So I always put in the same amount of effort for the crew as I would for guests. There's no difference. And yeah, they're just really appreciative. I love cooking for crew.
You have literally been flown around the globe by yacht owners to come and experience some of their favorite restaurants. You have cooked the most simple of meals and the most eccentric of meals. But if you, Dean, were asked by a guest to prepare something with your own flair and creativity on, what would you be making?
Having a day like yesterday with the brokers on, it gave me full creativity to do exactly what I want to do. These guys come on board for a free lunch, which is nice. And, you know, I get given the freedom to create my own menu. And you don't always get that with the guests on board. You know, they're very specific, I guess, and they give a lot of preferences, and you don't always get to cook what you want to cook. But, you know, I think you got to suck it up. And, you know, I've learned to drop the ego in this industry and just give the guests what they want. And that's fine. You know, after 13 years, you realize that you just have to do what the guests want. You can't just let that ego take over and create all these crazy things that you think they might like or that you like. You just have to cater to them.
Yacht like Loon has over 20 crew, but only 2 chefs. Could you talk a little bit about the pressure that you are under as a head chef to be able to perform and essentially hold the reputation of a vessel like Loon just between the 2 chefs in this galley?
You know, there's 20 crew on board and there's only 2 chefs in this department, so there's not a lot of backup. You know, it's just us 2 that have to perform and make sure that food gets out the way that clients want. In the past, I've heard of chefs being let go on charters because it wasn't to the preference of the charter guest. And, you know, that's that. It's up to the charter guest if they want to keep the chef or not. So every meal could be your last meal, basically.
A yacht like Motor Yacht Loon is almost always on display online. What are you doing essentially to put your food preparations involved and for that sort of creativity within your dishes to always have your meals that you prepare on display?
You know, being on Loon and always having a camera in your face and, you know, the crew filming absolutely everything, there's a certain amount of pressure that the chefs are feeling that they have to perform every day. And, you know, sometimes you have bad days and it's not always good. So that kind of pressure of being Loon and everyone being a part of Loon raises the bar and puts that kind of pressure on us to be the best we can be.
A vessel like Loon can essentially be at sea for almost weeks. How are you able to prepare and plan for such long periods of time to provide such perfect produce at the end of the day? Tell me a little bit about what the guests don't see to make the charter happen when it comes to the cuisine on board.
We're quite lucky every time we visit these ports that the chefs are able to get off and try restaurants and go to the markets and visit provisioners, which we use to source the best of the best ingredients. And, you know, I always say, don't make a baguette if you're in France, you know, go and get the best baguette you can for the guests. But, you know, we're quite capable in the Caribbean to make a baguette and give them that same kind of experience they'll want to have in the Caribbean as they would in Europe.
When it comes to purchasing quality ingredients, is there a limit to what could be spent on board to essentially satisfy that guest when it comes to food items?
There's absolutely no limit to what we can spend on board. It is the best experience anyone could have. It's a yacht. Your budget is unlimited. You're able to get anything you want flown in from Canada if you want to. You know, caviar flown in from all sorts of places all around the world. There is absolutely no limit to what we can achieve on board these vessels.
You are under immense pressure as the head chef on board one of the most well-known yachts in the world. Talk to me a little bit about how you, Chef Dean, when you're done here on board and when you actually leave the vessel, what are you doing? What are you up to essentially relax a little bit?
You know, I believe in quite a balanced lifestyle. This industry does take its toll on the body and mentally, and I believe that going and doing the things that you love on your time off, like heli skiing and diving and, you know, exploring all these places. I love to just go eat all around the world, and I actually get inspired by this when I go eat some of these dishes. You know, I just went to Mexico and had some of the best tacos I can ever imagine. I've come back here and I've created them for the guests. So it's a super cool experience to be able to to explore these countries on my time off and then come back on board and refreshed and ready to go and creating these dishes for these guests.
Could you talk to us a little bit about the benefits of being a yacht chef? At the end of the day, your galley is moving everywhere. So tell us a little bit about the differences between working in a kitchen, say land-based, and working on board a yacht.
It's quite a unique lifestyle where you're waking up in all these places where in a restaurant, you're going inside the kitchen and you're spending 16 hours there. Here in a galley, I walk outside and I can, explore and go for a swim if I wanted to. And that's the thing I love about this industry.
Dean, it's been an absolute pleasure after all these years of working with you to actually be here in the galley and be talking to you.
Who are you talking to, bro?
Dude, we have to redo these things for them to be perfect because your focus was so bad.
You need to upgrade to a Sony, bro.
Nobody's been there the whole time.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Okay, cut.
Fingerprints on that thing.